every single time, yeah? With every single data mart, you start it with a question. Don't go and just curate all the data and hope, fingers crossed, yeah, oh, and the insights will eventually come down. Yeah? Bless the data curators' hearts. You need to be a very special person to do that. Yeah, and every data curator who does that deserves your respect and your love and your admiration, because this is very hard work. It's very frustrating. It's very tedious, and it's not efficient. It is not sustainable. How can we start to get the data from the beginning in a fair way? So that as you generate the data, as you ingest the data, you process the data, you store and share the data, you get it from the beginning right. Instead of permanently, engaging a half an army of data curators to go and correct your sins from the past.
When you were talking about your first leadership meeting where you started with FAIR, people were not interested, then you demonstrated that you could get signals, then you started to scale up your initiative, and now you're talking about creating fair data at the point of production. So how did you get to this point? Because I assume that it kind of changes a lot of processes in the organization if you want to produce fair data at scale.
There is another aspect that I completely underestimated. When my boss Jeff asked me to whether I would lead this program, I said, yeah, sure, I can do that. Because decades of experience as a biometrician, of course I can do that. I know data, I know analysis. I had no idea, Thibaut. I had no idea. Seriously, the majority of my job had nothing to do with data, had nothing to do with FAIR, to your point, had nothing to do with technology. It had to do with human psychology, with trust. I see it quite often not being expressed explicitly enough, that the human aspect in these transformational programs, the human aspect is on top of your mind. It's not an afterthought. We call it a FAIR engine, yeah? And we cut it into segments where you have data ingestion, you have data processing, you have the analysis, whatever you're doing with the data, right? And then you have what we call not data storage, but data sharing. What is your purpose? Why do you wake up in the morning? Yeah, I don't wake up in the morning because of FAIR data. FAIR data is an enabler, right? So what is your purpose? Yeah, are you waking up to fight cancer? Are you waking up to fight Alzheimer's? I asked several times also team members, when was it the last time you were in a hospital? Are you aware what it means to go and take a sample and wait for a diagnosis? You go home and they will tell you, we will call you when we have the results. If you imagine the Pyramid of Giza, right? It stands there for thousands of years, and there's a very good reason for it, yeah? It has a very big foundation, and then it goes towards the top. And if you think about a data pyramid, it's the same. It should be the same in theory. So at the foundation, you have FAIR data. Data is then being derived into information. That's your next segment of the pyramid. And information can then be synthesized into knowledge, which is your next segment. You ruminate over your knowledge, you compare your current knowledge retrospectively with what you acquired before, and you eventually come up with one insight based on that amount of data and information. The FDA came with a black box warning. Boom. Yeah. Now that woke up everyone in the company. It woke up the CEO, and we were all pulled into a war room, and we started to turn on old servers because we had to pool all clinical data. And now you can imagine what that means. Old servers with non-annotated data sets. If I talk to a young data scientist, I would say two things that are really important. The one is learn a domain. And what I mean by that is study a data domain and understand the data itself. And whether this is biology, medicine, finance, never mind. But if you don't understand the business that you're analyzing, if you don't understand the data in itself, you will not have the impact. You will not have the impact that you could have.